Good morning. So I have decided to discuss the role and impact of economic reforms on Indian agriculture sector. This is a very vital issue which is to be addressed by the economics time and again. And when we want to discuss about the reforms, the status of reforms, and what is the status of reform, that to be judged by the 1991, because in 1991 we have started to have a reform in entire agricultural sector under the leadership of Mr. P.V. Narasimha Rao, and Dr. Manmohan Singh was working as a in charge of financial management. So that to be started, and we till today, what is the status? That there are so many that steps to be taken by the government due to their policies, and that liberalization policy, under the liberalization policy. So there are so many that affected those who are having the impact on the Indian agriculture. Importance of agriculture in Indian economy. The objective is very clear that when we complete the discussion, we will learn about the impact of Indian agriculture and importance of agriculture in Indian economy and key role of elements of reform. So before going to in detailed discussion, I'll just want to discuss regarding the importance of agriculture in the Indian economy. The importance of agriculture is very important to learn about it, because India is a land of agriculture where the because and we are having the huge number of people in our country in the form of the population. So for fulfilling their feed requirement, their food requirement, the the importance of agriculture is remain sustained. So in that case, what to be done? The importance of agriculture is very much high, because agriculture is a sector where we have a huge number of people, those who are employed indirectly or directly. Whereas the in the GDP, about 18% that contribution to be given from, and it to become from the GDP, from the agriculture sector, and out of which about 25% of that 18% contributed by the Department of Animal Husbandry and Fisheries. So all, if you see that the entire agriculture is about that the huge employment is there. So importance and to provide food and other that the feed requirement of the human beings and the animals, that to become from the agricultural sector. So if the agricultural sector flourishes, then the entire economy, it gives the boost up to the entire economy. So agriculture sector, the reforms started in agriculture sector in 1991, when the liberalization policy came into the enforce by Dr. Manmohan Singh. So let us have a first that what is the impact of that liberalization policy on our economy. So introduction is that the existence or absence of favorable natural resources can facilitate the retard the process of economic development. It means the favorable natural resources, those who are there, if we are not able to exploit them for the interest of the people of the country, then how we can have that kind of that utilization of these natural resources. So favorable resources sometimes they help to facilitate, and if we are not utilizing them, they retard the process of economic development. Professor Lewis writes that the natural resources determine the course of development and constitute the challenge which may not be accepted by the human mind. So that here the clearly that the Professor Lewis writes that the natural resources determine the development and constitute the challenge which may not be accepted by the human mind. So that natural resources sometimes they decide the pace of the development and growth. but that up to certain extent or sometimes may not be accepted by the human mind. Because of that he feel that he required such type of that situation. But whatever is there, it's as a natural phenomena and natural situation. So natural that the resource in what way we are exploiting that resource. Developing countries embarking on programs of economic development usually have to begin with the concentrate on the development of locally available natural resources and initial condition for lifting local levels of living and purchasing power. For obtaining foreign exchange with to purchase for capital equipment and for setting in motion the development process. Fisher 64 in 1964 has given this concept with the basic thrust on higher growth in food grain production and other agricultural commodity, increase in productivity and efficient use of resource in agriculture has received special emphasis. Although the process of development since independence, sustainable agriculture production depend upon the judicious use of natural resources, soil, water, livestock, plant and genetic fisheries, forest, climate, rainfall, and topography. In 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 an acceptable technology management under the prevailing socio-economic infrastructure, Food and Agriculture Organization has formulated the following definitions for sustainable development in context of agriculture, forestry, and fisheries. So there are few definitions, those who are to be laid by the FAO, and that to be discussed over here. That definition is very important. Let us have a look on that definition. Sustainable development is the management and conservation of natural resources. Sustainable that that this definition, on the basis of this definition, we have we have decided to to provide credit and other facilities, financial facilities through NABARD, and that NABARD we have taken this prime that vision and mission that how we can have sustainable and equitable agricultural and rural development. So this from FAO definition we have taken this slogan, and then we have started a huge financial sector change in the financial department, that we have started NABARD through the 100% that the portion to be given by the RBI and central government. So definition of NABARD is FAO is very important. That sustainable development is the management and conservation of natural resources based and orientation of technological and institutional change in such a manner as to ensure the attainment and continued satisfaction of human needs for the present and future generations. So this is a measure that for this is not only for the present that human population, but whatever the steps we'll take, we have to take all the steps to to availability of the natural resources, and how in a better way we can utilize them, so we can have a sustainable and equitable that the growth and development in the rural and agriculture area. And ultimately we can we can not only serve the present population, but also the steps towards the keeping this thing in mind, that how we can have better how we have better opportunities for future generations. Such sustainable development in the agriculture, forestry, and fisheries sectors conserves land, water, plant, and animal genetic resources, is environmentally non-degrading, technically appropriate, economically viable, and socially acceptable. So these are the points, those who are to be very important, and they are to be kept into the mind while we are discussing the natural resources. Economic reform process, that I have given a hint that in July 1991, the country has taken a series of measures to structure the economy and improve the balance of payment position. The new economic policy NEP 1991 introduced changes in the area of trade policies, monetary and financial policies, fiscal and budgetary policies, and pricing and institutional reform. The salient feature of national economic policy 1991 are likewise that the liberalization, internal and external. First one, the salient feature was that. That's why we say that the Dr. Manmohan Singh has started the policy of the liberalization, external and internal. It means we are opening the door of the other countries, other the business opportunities. Those who are worldwide, those who are having multinational that infrastructure, we are inviting them to have investment in our country, and we are removing the barriers of in between to take this position. Extending privatization, yes. Instead of that, the government institutions they are giving the opportunity to utilize and to exploit the natural resources through the proper privatization and fear that the policy to be adopted by the government. Redirecting scarce public sector resource to area where the private sector is unlikely to enter. That to be done only by attracting them to have to provide certain incentives and all. Then only we can have this kind of things, and that's why the government has to effort and put their efforts over there so that they can attract the private sector for various that assignment those who are generally being done by the government. Globalization of economy and market friendly state. These are the few changes. Those were the salient feature of the national economic policy. And research reports reveals that this macroeconomic adjustment program is remarkable for its relatively painless transition compared with the similar program elsewhere, and a large of the credit for absorption of these stocks is due to the steady increase in agriculture production. The GATE agreement signed in 1995 in the form of the WTO will fundamentally change the global trade picture in agriculture sector, because when the WTO, the World Trade Organization, it's a structural body, and it's now the gate is not only remain as a forum of discussion of trade and other issues within the countries. Now if they have signed any multilateral the documents and the economic transaction to reduce the tariff barriers and other barriers, so that can be now to be enforced by the enforcement of these agreements now to be looked after by the World Trade Organization, and that can be now the structural body, and they are to be given the constitutional certain rights, and they have their own law. So impact of economic reforms process on Indian agriculture sector. Now let us have a look on the reform that those what kind of impact they are having on the agricultural sector in Indian economy. Agriculture sector is the mainstay of the rural Indian economy around the socio-economic privileges and deprivated resolve, and any changes in the structure likely to have a corresponding impact on the existing pattern of social equity. No strategy of economic reform can succeed without sustained and broad-based agricultural development, which is critical for raising living standards and elevating the poverty. There are few reasons that how we can sustain the agricultural and rural development, which is critical for which is very much required actually. This process is very much required for raising living standard. That to be ultimately the goal of the democratic government. Then elevating the poverty. That how we can remove the poverty in the in the rural and agricultural sector. Then assuring food security. We can secure that how we can ensure that everybody is having uh, their food for their consumptions, and that kind of that policy to be introduced, that we can give the assurance to all the society. That's why in the government we have started there are several that the food security act and all, generating buoyant market for expansion of industry and services. That is to be very important. That instead of creating the monopolizing thing, let us have opportunity to all the players, those who came there and they perform their business, and they exercise their business, that program and activities to have a business in the country. That because this is the way we can have opportunity to generate the employment, and that is why the expansion of industry and services to be required at large, making substantial contribution to the national economic growth. Studies also show that the economic liberalization and reform process have impact on agricultural and rural sectors very much. According to Bhalla 1997, of three sector of economy in India, tertiary sector has diversified the fastest, secondary sector has second fastest, second one, and while primary sector has taken as a whole as a scarcely diversified at all. Since agriculture contributes to be the tradable sector, this economic liberalization and reform policy has far-reaching effect on agricultural exports and than the investment in new technology and rural infrastructure. That we know that because of the reform steps, those who are being taken by the government, we have here in the Israeli system of the doing agriculture. So that the drip irrigation is very much popular, and then there are certain that genetic plant improvement we have also discussed through the process of the forum which we have formed to discuss how we can have the higher productivity from the sustained that genetic material, plant material, animal material that we are having with us. Investment in new technologies and on rural infrastructure that we initiated and that to become into the country, and ultimately we have a U-turn changes in the standard of living of the people in the rural area. Pattern of agriculture growth. This is also very important, that in what way the pattern of growth is going on. So now we see that in last after independence, that what kind of the 33 crore population we are having now. We have over 40 crore people, and now we are self as far as the food grain that safety is concerned, and milk production also. But instead of that, we are far away in, to obtain the optimum and the higher productivity from farming and from the sector of the animal husbandry and the pattern of rural growth, that to be the one of the most important impact, that in what way actually we proceed for agricultural and rural development. Agriculture income and employment. Yes, we know that this is because our country is solely based on the agriculture. So that if the development in agriculture sector initiated, then that entire scenario will, because through this we can have opportunity to boost up to the industrial goods also, because if the living and the financial that the status of rural and agricultural area increases, then the consumption of all the luxury items, or all the other that the industrial goods, they are to be purchased by the rural mass. So in that case, for enhancing their upliftment of their livelihood. So and through that, if the instrument to be purchased by them, then the service sector also improved, because that for the maintenance and and uh, and 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 maintaining them in a proper manner, that the services of these items are also required. So ultimately, the upliftment of increasement in the agricultural income of the agriculture, we are indirectly improving the entire economy, and the cycle of our economy moves like anything, and we can have the better opportunity to have employment generation through this agricultural development. Then the food security, which is also very important. Now the Khusro Committee and Narsingham Committee might lead to a fall in farm management, in farm investment and impaired agricultural growth. Panda 1996, he had also given this kind of that same attitude, same concern. Infrastructure development requires public expenditure, which is getting affected due to the new policies and fiscal compression. Liberalization of agriculture and open market operations will enhance competition in resource use and marketing of agricultural production, which will force the small and marginal farmer who constitute 76.3% of total farmers of resort to disease sale and seek for off farm employment for supplementing income. Now, marginalization of small farmers. The central issue in agriculture development is the necessity to increase the productivity, employment, and income to poor segment of the agricultural population. Among the rural poor and small farmers constitute a sizable portion in the developing country. Studies by FAO have shown that the small farms constitute between 60 to 70% of total farms in developing countries and contribute about around 30 to 35% of total agricultural output. Randhawa and Sundaram also had the results and declared in 1990 the same 60-70% about in between. Liberalization era 1991 began in India when over 40% of rural households were landless or near landless, because we know that 96% of owned holding is 2 to 3 third of owned and that belong to the size of group that marginal, small and semi or medium. The decades of 1981 to 82 to 91 to seems to have witnessed a marked intensification of the marginalization process. The percentage of small owners increases from 14.7% to 21.75%. Now the Indian agriculture sector, let us have a look on that in what way the Indian agriculture sector proceeds. The Indian agriculture sector provides employment about 65%, that we know well. For poor rural labor force accounts to 27% of GDP, contribute 21% of total export and raw material of service industry. The livestock sector will contribute about 8.4% of the country of GDP and 35% of agricultural output. India is the seventh largest producer of fish and the world and ranks second in the production of in fish production. Fish production has increased about 0.75 million tons to 19 it's 5 times actually, more than 5 times the, the fish production increase in our country. Cumulative growth rate 4.2% per annum, which has been fastest of any item in the food sector, except potatoes, egg, and poultry meat. The future growth in agriculture must come in come from new technology which are not only cost effective but also in conformity with natural climatic regime of the country. Then the technology relevant to rain fed area specifically. Continued genetic improvement for the better seeds and yield. Data improvement for better research, better result and sustainable planning. Bridging the gap between knowledge and practice. And last, the judicious land use resource surveys, efficient management practices, and sustainable use of natural resources. It means these are the five the 5 points and the five the important aspects of Indian agricultural development in future course of action. Both information technology, genetic engineering, and biotechnology, which are the drive of the So, information technology will facilitate dissemination of information on development, education, extension, husbandry, marketing, production, and research to agricultural farmers. So these are the way that actually that those who are to be responsible for the development of the countrymen. The ninth plan target is to achieve growth at rate about 4.5% per annum. Agriculture in output and production 234 million metric ton of food grain by 2001. The policy thrust that and the element of growth strategy proposed in ninth five-year plan document volume are the follows. Element of growth, those who are being proposed in ninth year plan, they are like that. Conservation of land, water, and biological resources. This is the first one that the objective and of the element of the plan proposed by the planning commission, that conservation of land, water, and biological resources. It means that we have to take all the efforts to have a conservation of land, water, and biological resources, because this the drinking water we are working on that, and avoid we have to avoid the drinking water to be unnecessarily entered into the sea. So that kind of the how we can have the dams in the country to protect with the interest that how we can have protection of the people of those who are having this kind of that thing. So biological resources also, in what way we can preserve the genetics, that material which we are having, indigenous genetic material, to which is very much required. If we will not protect the biological resources, predators and all, then the entire that natural that balance to be disturbed. So we have to have this kind of that conservation of land and further deterioration. How we can have we can protect the land from erosion and other the natural that disaster because of the scent of the rivers, the time of the floods and all. So that kind of that conservation and that land, water, and biological resources is very much important. Then rural infrastructure development, how we can achieve the rural infrastructure, that road connectivity, and we know that how we can have that to be done to provide the better opportunities. And if the connectivity will be better, then how we can have the electricity and the water supply of the rural area, and that to be addressed in the planning, so that we can have the better opportunity of growth and development in the rural area. And through this upliftment, we can change the entire scenario of the country. Development of rain-fed agriculture, that how we can have the agriculture in the scarcity area, where like just like Rajasthan and a few area of the Maharashtra and Gujarat, that here the irrigation water is available, but very rarely available, and if available in a scarcity. So how we can promote the rain-fed farming, where we require the minimum water support to have an agriculture. So perform the agricultural the certain crops, those who are can easily be raised in the rain-fed area. How we can have uplift our rural the farmers to adopt this kind of the technology which is required the minimum rain. The development of minor irrigation, if it is possible, then we have to utilize the resources those they are there to develop certain short dams, and that water to be used for various agricultural purposes, and to uplift the water level in that area. So that kind of all kind of that thing that they are to be considered in the ninth five-year plan. Then timely adequate availability of inputs. That it will be also very much important, that how we can have because at a time, if we are not able to do the surgery of the problem, then it will create then it will turn into the unrepairable that loss. So that's better, that all the time and and in adequate amount we have to ensure the availability of the inputs. For example, in agricultural inputs, we are knowing that the land, labor, and the seed, fertilizer, pesticides, and other that those who are being treated as a machinery and all those who are required in agriculture sector, the finance is also we have to provide that. For that, we the country had decided to give the Kisan credit card to them, and they are providing the lucrative at 3-4% that loan. And further, the government, so they are waiving up this loan and this kind of that facility to be provided to the farmers who have lived their entire that's, increasing flow of credit that to be addressed by the nationalization of banks in 1969. And now the commercial banks and other banks, they are bound to give they are also given the directives, and under the policy they are supposed to give the banks loans to the farming sector. That can be further impact can be observed in the development and the growth of the farming community. Enhancing public sector investment, that to be also very much important. If we give the incentives to the industrialists and other people, those, and with the note that we provide them the protection from all the hazard, and incentivize, give them waivers to taxation and all, and motivate them to have establish their agro-based industry in the area where they as per the need and the requirement of the farm community, and then the raw material is available in that area. So that can be done by the government by by enhancing the public sector investment. Enhance support of our research. That this is also very much important. That how we can have the research and development in that area. For that, the government is making their research units, but also they are promoting the private sector to take this responsibility and enjoy that kind of the research, and which they do. That is the we know that nowadays we have vaccines available from private sector, and that to be result of that is that fact which we have the on we have taken the steps to enhance this thing. Then the effective transfer of technology. This is also very important, that if we have information and about this new upcoming in the sector, but unless we will not transfer the technology to ground, then we will not that much of benefited by IPVR. So that how we can have the effective transfer of technology, that to be ensured in the ninth five-year plan. I declare her. Support for marketing infrastructure, that will be very much important. That road connectivity and the other packaging facilities and other that storage facilities, those who are to be built up and provided for storing and providing the warehouse facility to the agricultural product. So that is also very much important, that marketing infrastructure to be addressed. And export promotion, that how we can have that's why we have export and import, and that department particularly for rural, so those we are being produced by the country now. Now 95-year plan documented 1997-2000, that predicted the development of vast rain-fed area of about 90 would required over 37,000 crores, and further scientific treatment for soil and water conservation, about that to be planned, and million hectare, 3 million hectare of land arable would require about 7,500 crore rupees. Development of rain-fed area required a substantial public investment, which may not be possible due to the new policies of fiscal compression. In the coming millennium, on the basis of the current trend in the constitution pattern, the estimated total food requirement can likely to be around 245 million tons by 2006-7. So that to be how we can have the if we are not growing like that, then how we'll achieve this thing. So these are the once again I'll like to give you the points, those who are very important, that how we can have the the plan those who are being proposed in 95 plan, the conservation of land, water, and biological resources. It means how we can go in the future, uh, and taking that thing into our mind, that how we can avoid the conserve how we can conserve the land, avoiding the erosion and other that situation those who are arises by the natural disasters. Then how we can procure the water, how we can have the water management. That's why we have started watershed project in our country. And then we can how can have biological resources, because um, biological resources mean all the genetic material, plant and animal material which is available. That means all the natural resources, natural that breeds and species and varieties those are having for plants and animals. How we can prevent them? How we can have the protection of these natural these resources? And if because we are using uh, BT technology in the plant sector, and then the crossbreeding in the animal sector, how we can protect our natural resource and natural breeds of and the natural variety of the plant and animal, that to be addressed by the government. Because until and unless we don't protect our natural that species and varieties of our plants and the species of animals, then how we can have the crossbreeding then, and that the BT technology. BT technology is nothing. It is just to change in the genetic and framework of a particular plant species, where that plant species is sustainable against any kind of that ectoparasite or endoparasite or any kind of that bacterial or viral infection. So that to be achieved, that to be achieved. Then the rural infrastructure development, that to be addressed by the government, because until and unless we have a proper that rural infrastructure development of rain-fed agriculture, that to be also addressed. Then we know that the minor that development of minor irrigation channel, how we can have this, how we can utilize the natural that water which is going in the streets and everywhere. So the small dams the any kids to be developed in the rural area, that on not only give boost up to the underground water, and but also they are fulfilling the local requirement of irrigation water in the adverse condition when there is no rainfall. Then the timely adequate availability of input, that to be ensured, because until and unless we will not ensure the timely availability of inputs in agriculture sector, for example seeds and pesticide and the fertilizers, if we are not ensuring them on time, then we cannot enhance the growth and development and productivity of our farms and farmers finally. So that to be ensured that on time and the very lucrative price, machinery also required sometimes for various agricultural operations, that the thrashing and all this kind of the operations, feeding even, that to be required. So if we are not able to serve the purpose of timely availability of ensuring the availability of these inputs, then we will not succeed in the agriculture or any business. If we are not ensuring the timely availability of and that adequate that increasing flow of credit, that we have to ensure that how we can have the financial support to overall development. Otherwise, we will not provide the finance or the agricultural input to the people. Then how will have this kind of and then increasing flow of credit, that to be promoted and initiated. Then how we can promote and incentivize our financial sector, financial institution to provide more and more credit in the area where the development is requirement required. So if will promote the credit facility and inflow of that credit into the rural agriculture sector, then ultimately the entire the cycle of entire economy will be in a way that we can ensure that the sustainable and the equitable growth and development in the entire country. Then enhancing public sector investment, that how we can attract the other private players to come and invest in the rural and agriculture sector. That how we can facilitate all these things through the proper infrastructure development in that area. If we are able to do so, then definitely we will achieve the final that destination and objectives of our planning. Enhanced support for research, that to be required, that we have to promote so that the seed companies or the genetic improvement companies, they directly contact with the farmers and promote their skills to how they can have the seed cultivation in their farms, and that farmers not only to be to be benefited, that the companies also be benefited by that. So that's how we can have promotion of these kind of that research type of activities in this area, that to be addressed by the then the effective transfer of technology. This is also very important, that how we can have whatever we have developed in the labs, how we can promote on the basis of that the benefits of that research which we have done, and for that the lab to land program, like that extension program to be initiated, and that to achieve the new dimension of any agricultural business or like that. Then effective transfer of technology, support for marketing infrastructure, export promotion activities. These all are very important inputs, and those who are to be addressed by the by the government in the fifth planning commission. So now I have discussed in detail that the impact of agriculture, impact of economic reforms in Indian agriculture, and I hope that you have a better understanding of all these things. So thank you very much for joining with me.